Oh, let's talk about this right now. Was veteran NFL reporter Jim Trotter, his contract not renewed because of him questioning the commissioner, Roger Goodell. All right, so these comments come after the fallout from Trotter's announcement that the NFL Network refused to offer him a new deal. Trotter and Goodell responded. Let's get to Trotter first. Quote, they made a decision that they didn't want to renew my contract. But the thing that I will say now is that journalism matters and holding people who are in power accountable matters. And that's part of our job, regardless of if it's our own employer or someone else, and which is really all I try to do here. One of the things the NFL always said internally is hold us accountable. Hold us accountable as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Secondarily, we do not have a full-time black person on the news desk at NFL Media. But to me, those are issues because when I think it's unfair to the players, they should have someone who shares either the same or similar life experiences and cultural experiences at the table when we talk about how we are going to cover them. And the fact that we don't, to me, it's an issue. So I've raised that repeatedly over the last 2 years, including at the last 2 Super Bowls with the commissioner. And there are some who didn't like it, and I do believe it played a role in my contract, not being renewed. All right, let's get to Goodell's response. 2 different responses at 2 different times. Goodell says, quote, Jim, I am not in charge of the newsroom. He responded in February at the pre-Super Bowl press conference to that. Then on Tuesday, at the owners' meetings, he responded like this, quote, I wasn't part of that decision and actually was just made aware of it about 10 minutes before I walked in here. So no, I don't believe that had anything to do with it. Woo, there's so many levels of discussion right here. All right, full disclosure, Jim Trotter is not only a friend, but he used to cover me as a beat writer for the San Diego Chargers. We got so cool when I was down in San Diego that I was the team snitch. And I think every single team has one because I certainly was one on multiple teams. The team snitch is the guy who is going to protect the guilty. Like, I'm not going to out guys on my team if it's bad, but I'm going to tell you what's really going on in here. You guys ever wonder, like, how do guys always find out, these reporters, what's going on in the locker room? When they're only there for the first 10 minutes or the last 10 minutes after practice or after the guys shower. How do they know all these details? I used to be a team snitch, and I told my teammates too as well, but I was the team snitch. I was the one talking to Jim Trotter, letting him know everything. So therefore, one, he looks like, wow, I'm really covering the Chargers like next level. That's good for him and his promotional opportunities going forward. And for me, I got it off my chest, and sometimes I used it, the court of public opinion, the fan base, to my advantage. I was like, yo, they over here tripping. We need y'all to say something or to kick up some dust. So it was a mutual respect and relationship, and I'm not alone. All right, got that out the way. Now let's talk about what I took away from these comments. One was he simply fired because he went at the commissioner. And I can respond to that with a story. My first job in traditional media was when the NFL Network first opened its doors. I think it was 2003. At the time, I was still playing for the Chargers, and I was a correspondent. So I'm an OG in this game for real, y'all. I ain't just old with the salt and pepper beard. I've really been in this game. Like, I had a TV show in Buffalo, 1997, that I kept going. Then I got to San Diego. I was doing a lot of the Best Damn Sports Show, if y'all remember that. And then NFL Network was like, yo, we opening up our doors. And I was one of the correspondents, one of the original cast. But at the same time, I knew I wasn't a future Hall of Famer. So I knew that my prospects of staying there wasn't great. So from there, went to ESPN, et cetera. But while I was there, I remember vividly one day, and at the time, it wasn't Roger Goodell as the commissioner. It was, Paul Tagliabue, remember? And I had some criticism of him just because I think he said something or did something. I was like, come on, y'all. But I was doing it in the respect that I always do commentary. Like, my best friend is the truth, not you. And I'm not talking about you. I don't talk about the actor. I'm talking about the act. That's how I always am. That's why I could talk about my friends. That's why I could talk about people in the industry. That's why I could talk about athletes. I could talk about media. I could talk about myself because I'm talking about the act, not the actor. So I was going to talk about the act of Tagliabue, and I got that double tap. Y'all remember that double tap? I always tell y'all about that double tap, right? That double tap is, hey, bruh, I don't know about that. The Malika Andrews double tap when she hit my man with it. She was like, excuse me, I don't think you need to be doing that right now, right? So that's what I got. Like, I don't think you should go to air with that. And I've heard countless and countless other stories from people, because say what you want, the NFL Network is owned by the NFL. And the commissioner of the NFL wants to be at least perceived in a glowing light. So at least those minions or the employees underneath him should say positive things. That doesn't mean in absolutes it's always going to be that way, but they will like it that way. No unnecessary shots, right? So was he fired for pressing the commissioner? Let's just say it didn't do him any favors. You already know what that is. All right, number 2, representation has to include acumen and interest. I think a lot of times when we talk about representation, we just mean skin color or background. You can't be that simple with representation, because I asked the question, if you're not from someone's background, right? Can you report on them and still represent? You know, like, can I report on a white player? Right? I'm not white. I'm not from that background. All right. Can I still properly report on them? I would say the answer is yes, right? So vice versa. But there's still a representation issue, because there's no head of media at the NFL Network, right? At the desk. But at the same time, as Trotter's pointing out, 60 to 70% of the players are people of color. All right, so we have something that's uneven right now. But it's not just an acumen conversation, it's a conversation of interest. Like, what are the numbers in terms of how many people really want that job and their backgrounds? I think we have to go into some deeper data. But it's just safe to say, somebody black wants the job, damn it. But is it the same amount in quantity, same in quality? How long is the line for the black person that wants that job versus the white person who wants that job? All those things have to be considered. All right, so you can obviously report properly on something or someone you don't represent. But what level of representation actually suffices? This is one of the deeper discussions that people have about representation and some of the pushback. When you talk about representation, you have to look at it from the perspective of the results will matter in terms of the equity and the equality. So we all can say, hypothetically, let's start off with a level, even playing field. But it's going to skew based on results, right? It's going to be skewed based on results. Not only do you qualify in terms of talent, but do you also have that excessive interest in it that's going to be your passion to get you there? Yeah. And now you start looking at different industries. Where do you see the ones that Asians run, or the ones that Indians run, or the ones that blacks run, or the ones that whites run? It's not just, oh, they're smarter or they're more talented. It's also they're more interested, right? And you gotta quantify interest in these conversations, which is very difficult to do. And lazily, a lot of times we report it without looking at that interest conversation. So practically, how do you do it? Here's the rub of it. Entities are sitting there saying, look, do you want us to have affirmative action or not? The pros and cons of affirmative action, obviously the pros are you're going to have people from diverse backgrounds get put into situations, even sometimes, let's be real, if they don't qualify, right? All right. But here's the con. That entity is now sitting there saying, we're dealing with a lot of pressure, unwanted pressure, enormous pressure, because one, all we did was pick the extremely gifted, the extremely talented from that underrepresented pool. You heard me? They picked the 1%ers of that underrepresented pool. They're not going to the average. They're going to the top dogs, right? We got representation here now, but here's the problem. It comes with unmerited issues, and a lot of times to these entities, litigation, because what happens? You pick the 1%, and then they're at your entity. You got the 1% of the black people that you want to represent through affirmative action, whatever you want to call it. Something goes wrong with that black person. Litigation. Was it racism? Or was it really based on their merits? Was it really based on the work? Was it really based on what they actually did? You say, I have to fire you. They say, oh, you only fire me because I'm black, I'm Indian, I'm Asian, etc. And so, just letting y'all know, because this show is about taking you behind the veil, nobody signs up for that. No entity signs up for, if I bring you in here, but I want to let you go based on the merits, potentially, you're going to sue us because you always have in your back pocket the race card. I said a lot there. But all I'm telling you right now is criticizing your boss is never going to do you well at work. But you got to have integrity. You got to be the guy who speaks from your own heart. You got to be your own version of yourself, right? Not the version that they want, but the version you desire to be in full expression. So without being there intimately in that moment, I do know from my experience, you better not talk about the commissioner, because somebody in that room is telling you that's not good for your business, let alone our business. And more importantly, if the commissioner did have his hand in this, Roger Goodell, come on, man. Everybody knows that you run the NFL, even though you have all of the individual owners. You got to make sure that in moments like this of integrity, of moments that you're actually going out there and saying and preaching integrity, that you also show it in this respect. And that doesn't mean you got them fired, but you could have kept them hired. That's what I'm saying.